welcome back to my YouTube channel. In this video, I will be talking about some interview questions that you would expect um, if you're trying to interview for cybersecurity positions. I have a playlist on my channel which the focus would be on, you know, creating different interview questions relating to stock analyst or other cybersecurity positions that you might be looking for. And this is for both people that are new into cybersecurity and people that are experienced in this field as well, trying to interview. If you're, looking to change a career, you're looking to change your current job, this series would help you prepare for the interview. So without wasting any time, let's just start. So the first question I have is, if you are, the interviewer might ask you, what is the role of a SOC analyst tier 1? A tier 1 SOC analyst is the first line of defense. Another question that you might get asked is, an interviewer might ask you, how do you investigate an alert? And if you're a fresher, like if you're someone that's just new to the field, the interviewer might be looking for how you approach your steps, the steps that you would take when troubleshooting a cybersecurity incident. So, an alert. So, you might get asked, how do you investigate an alert? So, depending on what alert it is, you can go with this general approach of identifying the rule, the source. You can check the associated log data, the user, the IP address. The IP address depends on if it's just one alert or multiple alert. You can look for context. So there's something we call anomaly, right? So you can check if is this a normal behavior, is this an expected behavior, or is this something that might be malicious? And you can check different logs. You can correlate logs from different sources if needed. And based on all these steps, if you're a SOC 1 analyst, you might have to escalate the issue to someone higher up based on your findings. So it's just a simple steps. But if you're an experienced professional in this field already and you're looking for your next job, the interviewer is looking for an example of an alert in real world scenario. Let's see, for instance, you're seeing multiple failed login attempt from a particular IP address. So if it's something that you've experienced before or something similar, you can go further to explain how you went about investigating that kind of issue. Another question is that you might get asked is, what do you do if you see a malware alert? So the same thing, identify where it's coming from, check the file was quarantined. You have to review like endpoint activity, check if a similar alert exists around the network, investigate. So sometimes something that I've seen happen is that if you're, especially if you work in probably a retail industry, if you're a cybersecurity engineer or whatever for a retail industry or any company entirely. So there is a change control, right? Maybe during the midnight, one of the a developer from another team deploy an application in the cloud, and they run a script. Could be Azure script, it could be any script, and that kind of script generated an alert, right? It could be anything based on the script. So you can give an example of that, and you guys receive an alert and you investigate it, and you see that it was something that was normal, which means that the team was aware that someone was running a script as at that time. So that's an example, just like a general example for that. So another question that might come up is, how do you handle a phishing alert? So phishing, even before that, an interviewer might ask to test your knowledge about what phishing is. So a phishing, as you all know, is a situation whereby an hacker sends you an email containing malicious links so that you can click on that link and it would collect your sensitive information and use it even more to target and use it as a targeted attack. There's different ways by which an attacker can, scam you. One of that is email phishing and, all of those. Let's say an interviewer might ask you to explain how you would handle a phishing alert, depending on what it is. So let's say you're working for a company and a user or one of the employees send you forward an email to, probably if you guys have a phishing mailbox, it forwards you the email saying that, oh, I received this email and I don't know if it's a phishing alert or if a phishing email or something. Then that's when you come in, you start to investigate. You have to investigate the sender email address, the domain name, the headers. You have to ask the user and also confirm if the user click on the link. You have to review the logs, current time the email if needed. And there are different threat intelligence website that you can use. There's VirusTrueTap, for example. They can help you check if an email address or IP address is malicious. Another question that you might get asked is, what is the difference between an IDS and an IPS? So intrusion detection system or intrusion prevention system. So someone might ask you what's the difference between the two. So for intrusion detection system, what that system does is just detect. It just let you know that something is going on in the system that's out of the ordinary, but it doesn't do anything, it doesn't take action. But for an intrusion prevention system, it detects and actively blocks the malicious traffic. So that's basically the difference between the two. So, and I can ask you, what are the common security alert categories that you can see? Like, what are the common security alert? What are the things that the security tools that you put in place might alert you upon? So there's brute force attempt, there's malware detection, there's data exfiltration, and there is suspicious login activity, especially if you're an environment that use Microsoft product like Microsoft Defender, Microsoft Office 365. All of those, based on the setup, would alert you on suspicious login activity, data exfiltration, malware detection, and all of those. It would alert you based on what you have configured or set up in your environment. Another question they might ask you might be relating to some common ports that are being used. So we have SSH, which is a secure shell, and the port number is 22. There's HTTP port 80, HTTPS 443, that's the port number, DNS, which is port 53, and RDP, which is 3389. So remote desktop, remote desktop protocol, sorry. And there's, so many protocols. There's Telnet, there's, different port that you should know if you're working in this field. Another question that you might get asked is, what is the difference between TCP and UDP? So TCP is Transmission Control Protocol, and UDP is User Data Protocol. Yeah. So they might ask you what's the difference between them. So for TCP, there has to be a connection. A connection has to be established between a client and server rather, before transmission can occur. And it's reliable, but it is slower compared to UDP. UDP is connectionless. There's no connection that has to happen between the client and the server for data to be transferred, and which is less reliable but faster. So it can be used to transfer a large volume of data compared to TCP, which is reliable and connection oriented. So that's just the basic definition difference between the two. So another question that you might get asked is, what is DNS? Imagine, you can explain it, you can even give the definition and then go further. That way you can explain to the interviewer that you even understand it even better. You can start a scenario. if you're being asked what a DNS is, you can start a scenario and be like, oh, imagine if we all have to remember numbers when searching on a website. So the meaning or what you're trying to tell the interviewer is you don't only know the definition, but you know how it applies in the real world. So DNS, for instance, helps to resolve IP addresses into host names. Um, so it resolves domain names into IP addresses. I'm sorry. So it resolves domain names into IP addresses. Like let's say www.google.com, and once you type in www.google.com, there's a background process that resolves these IP addresses to IP numbers that the system can understand. Because I can imagine you want to go to Twitter, you want to go to let's say different website that we shop from, and you have to remember all of these numbers. I don't think anyone would be able to do that. So you can explain that and say it's resolved host names into IP addresses, and you can be, you can be asked, how do you identify a suspicious IP address? There are many threat intelligence websites that can help you see if a particular IP address is known for malicious purpose. So some of these websites can help you. WHOIS websites, threat intelligence fields like VirusTotal and Abuse IPDP websites can help you, can tell you if an IP address is suspicious. So, and there are some, different, checklists that can help you to flag a suspicious IP address. So you can go there, research about that, and that would help you as well. So another question that you might get asked, which might not be for experienced people, it might be for people that are just new into cybersecurity, is where are logs stored in Windows? So there's Windows log system security and application event. In the events is stored in the event viewers, and they also, an event viewer has like the security system and application logs. And if you're on your laptop, you want to access logs via event viewer, you can do a Windows key plus R and type event vwr.msc and then press enter. That will take you to your Windows logs, and you will see the following. You will see many categories. You will see application logs, you will see system logs, you will see security logs, you will see setup, and you will see forwarded events. So for application logs, you will see installed programs, applications that have been installed on your software, that have been installed on your system. So for system logs, you would see, logs from your Windows system components, like your driver failures, your shutdowns. And for security, you will see like login attempt, privilege use, accounts logouts. All of this information would help you investigate if there's an issue with a particular system. And you see the setup, you will see logs relating to operating system setup and Windows update. So if you're really curious on what logs your system is collecting, you can see these logs in your event viewer. So they can ask you, what is event ID 4625? So some of these IDs have meanings. So Windows Security Log ID 4624 is for failed login attempt. Let's say you're trying to get into your system and probably you missed the number. Some of those logs would show up in your Windows system logs in the security section of it. So event ID 4625 is used for failed login attempt. Another question that you might get asked is, what is indicator of compromise? So indicator of compromise is generally would tell you, it's like it will tell you that there is a breach. It will show you the evidence that there is a breach. So for instance, it can show you it would be like your a malicious IP address, a domain name, a registry key, For instance, or if you can go forward further, you can explain this. You can say, you can tell your interviewer like an IOC is a piece of forensic evidence that suggests that a system or a network may have been breached or is under attack. It can help security teams detect, identify, and respond to malicious activity. So all these indicators of compromise can help you when investigating a security incident. Tells you, gives you information about what you should be investigating about. And the common types of IOC, you know, like I mentioned earlier, malicious IP address. You can see all this information. And also another question that you might get asked is, can you name a few threat intelligence sources? Like I mentioned earlier, there's VirusTotal, there's Abuse IPDB, there's Malware Bazaar. There's different threat intelligence sources that can help you investigate if an IP address is malicious or not, or other information as well. So they can ask you, how do you prioritize a lot? For instance, this is a way for the interviewer to check how you prioritize things, right? For instance, if you receive multiple alerts, the interviewer wants to gauge your how you can deduce when you're supposed to act on something quickly and how you can prioritize. Let's say you received an alert that a multiple user can get into a system, for instance, and then you receive maybe a ServiceNow ticket, come in and say, well, multiple users in a particular location that the company has can get into an account. Have someone creating a ticket that just one user can get into an account. So in that case, which of those service tickets are you going to quickly work upon? Obviously, it should be the one that's going to affect a lot of users. That does not mean you're not going to work on the one that's just affecting one user, but you have to be able to remember what impact, urgency. Is this going to affect critical production system, or maybe it's a system that generates more revenue for the company? Those are critical, so you have to start the investigation on those. You have to prioritize. And at the end of it all, they might ask you general questions. So these are some of the questions that I see that are being asked when you're going for some of these interviews. I would be uploading other series as well. If you enjoy this video, please like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you in my next video. Thank you.